Okay, hello and good evening. I'm Dr. Paulson. I am the director for the addiction counseling program. I'm excited for this class. I'm really just able to provide an overview, kind of going over, or I'll be teaching this class, but I'll also be going over really what to expect, what the expectations are, the structure of this 8-week course, and this video will be for your viewing pleasure on Monday, and then we'll be meeting later on in the first week, each week, every week, at least once, to really have an opportunity to practice and go over what it means to not just be a facilitator or a group leader, but also to be a participant and to be an observer. So that's going to be really fun, applicable as well. And really just giving you all the chance and the tools and the opportunities to really kind of hone down on what it means to be able to do group counseling in an addiction counseling setting. And for most of you, that means working in either a rescue mission or working in a population or serving a population where you're working with the addicted and the poor. All right. So I'm going to share my screen, really just jump right into it. All right. And now we're going to, here we go. Fantastic. So that's me. Um, this is exciting. All right. So really just providing a brief overview, and I want to give a chance just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Now, after you complete this course, you'll be able to identify the key principles of group counseling and techniques to improve your overall effectiveness as a counselor. And the discussions, you'll be able to discuss the various applications and approaches for group counseling and how they relate to the field of counseling, especially considering how you'll all be, will likely either be in different settings or just throughout your career. I mean, I can't tell you how many times well, no, it's been pretty consistent, at least when it comes to addiction counseling, but I've worked in different areas of counseling, both, marriage and family and working in Department of Children and Family and juvenile justice and always doing groups because there's something healing there about groups in the milieu. Reflecting on how these group counseling approaches apply and can be used in your current and future contexts. We will, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on throughout the course. We do have certain assignments, and we do have a reflection journal, so that's gonna be fun. And really great in helping people build on their awareness. You'll also be practicing and recording various evidence-based group counseling skills using counseling to receive feedback, because only with feedback can we really improve and do better. We really need to know where we're at in order to see where we can go. And then also you're gonna use group counseling observation form to evaluate both the verbal and the nonverbal counseling skills of one of your peers in a live video session. So part of this will be using it, but also being able to be or recognizing the feedback. So, all right. So what does this course look like? Well, we're going to have a weekly class Zoom meeting, 90 minutes or an hour and a half long each. You're going to practice the skills in the very first week. I'll be the facilitator. I'll be the group leader, so to speak. And then the following weeks, there will be a student will be the group leader or the facilitator. But group leader, participant, leader observer, and then we'll have the participant and group process observer. So we have someone who is the leader, someone who's the or multiple people will be the participants. Then we have someone who will observe specifically the leader, and we have someone who's observing the group process as a whole and just seeing how all the dynamics kind of come into play. Then also each session will be recorded, so you'll be able to review it if you need to. There will also be a group schedule for who will be the leader evaluator, and process observer. So just being able to kind of It'll be organized. Now the dates and the times will vary depending on when this course is taught. So this is a basic framework or basic template, and when on Monday, come Monday, I'll put the dates and times, and that'll be available either on Canvas or I'll put in an announcement just so that everyone can look at it. Okay. So the best way to make the most out of this class, being ready to grow, uh, being willing to be vulnerable, that's going to be incredibly important. You know, being willing to open up a little bit within reason, and of course, too, in one of the instructions when it comes to getting ready for these groups, we do want you also to be at a certain level of comfort or being able to disclose not quite something that's not how's the weather, right? We don't want to be that superficial. But probably at the level that you would feel with maybe like a church group or a Bible study group kind of deal where it's like, hey, I can share what's going on with my life, but I'm also not going to get so deep where it's like, hey, I would share this only with a fully trained trauma professional, or whatever it is, or a mental health counselor who's able to really go there and do that. So in the mid range, not quite super heavy, but also not quite light, just finding that nice sweet spot. Confidentiality, we want to make sure that we treat this as we would, both as we would if in-person class, but also recognizing, hey, if this was a real group session, what we wouldn't disclose anything or we wouldn't break that confidentiality. We want to make sure that we're honoring, respecting each other, respecting ourselves, honoring that space, and not disclosing or talking about other people's stories that don't concern us. Not breaking that confidentiality and that trust. Have appropriate boundaries. So maybe this might help kind of just recognizing what you're willing to disclose and what you're not, what would be appropriate, what wouldn't be, just kind of figuring that out and thinking about it. Trust the process, incredibly important. Needs to be some trust because, there needs to be some growth. We want to be able, only by practicing it and having it or engaging in it, participating in it, can you be able to do it yourself and be able to lead groups by saying, hey, at least I was in a group, I was in a group counseling or a mock group counseling session. But and there's nothing wrong if you need more practice. That's what I like about groups. It's always an opportunity to you know, well, we meet each week, but there will, don't hesitate to reach out to me or email me if you do feel like you need more practice or if the 90 minutes isn't enough, we'll try and figure that out. Make sure that there's appropriate class etiquette, again, that we're almost like you would in a therapy session, unconditional positive regard. We're not bashing anyone or judging anyone. We're just respecting each other and kind of just, you don't have to condone someone or condone what someone does to treat them with basic decency. And I would say even, we really want to make sure that we're having kind of a really kind approach with each other. And attendance is mandatory. So this attendance is definitely something that's incredibly important because this is a skills class, so to speak, or it is group counseling, you're engaging in this stuff. We really can't have you miss anything because it would really be detrimental. You would really miss out on being able to, if we were to compare, like say for example, people who practice 4 sessions versus the full 8, there would be a stark difference for sure. So there's no makeup session. Students missing a live meeting will receive a 0 for that session's grade. And if it happens enough, it will, it'll be tough. It'll definitely impact the grade. Now, we do try and work with students as best we can. But this is why we tell everyone kind of going forward beforehand, hey, really need to make sure that you're available during these times, and we'll go from there. All right, so assignments. So each week you have chapter quizzes. We have live group session attendance. We have group observation form and the group leader feedback form for the live group sessions. And then also you'll have a self-care reflection journal, and then there's also the group counseling reflection journal and video study guide. So the self-care reflection journal is, I would say definitely have that done as quickly as you can before our first meeting, because that's going to give you stuff. Actually, you know what? If you don't have it done, that's okay. But later on, you each class will focus, the theme will really focus on the previous week's self-care reflection journal and the topics and themes that are focused on that. So by the week 2 live group session, the theme will really be focusing on the previous the stuff that you encountered and read about in your self-care reflection journal the week prior. So week 2 live group session will focus on the week 1 self-care reflection journal. Okay. Just wanted to dissuade any confusion. So each week we'll be role playing in breakout groups where you will be able to practice the skills, or not breakout groups, but live group sessions. Practice the skills covered in a module that week to facilitate a group. The goal of these exercises is to practice counseling skills in a safe, structured environment. You'll learn by experiencing the counseling process from different views and receiving feedback. So just like I said before, where it's really, you can't really do it until you've engaged in it and practiced it and kind of done it yourself, so to speak, or had it done to you. Then you can really kind of do it and then model for others and kind of being able to get familiar with it, because it's always going to be awkward the first time. I want people to know that too. If there's any anxiety or fears or any like, oh no, I'm not gonna be perfect, like everyone's learning. That's the whole point. That's why we do this. That's why we do it. So when you break out into a group, you'll assume one of the 3 roles. Group leader, you're facilitating the group, or actually one of the 4 roles. Group leader, facilitate the group. Participant, also known as typically the client, but you're the participant. You're providing the material for the group leader to work with. Now, the group process observer, this person will be observing dynamics in the process of the group, and then the leader observer will pay close attention to the interactions, the leader's interventions, how the group is functioning, who's engaging, any shifts in the dynamic. So the group leader, participant, group process observer, kind of seeing how all that interplays and all the dynamics that go into place. And then the leader observer. So that person is really just focusing, hey, how did this leader, the group leader, handle this? How did they facilitate it? What did they do? Did they attend to each individual person? Did they notice one of the clients was maybe, or participants was maybe monopolizing? How did they handle that? How did they handle silence? That's a good way to look at it. But there's a form that kind of goes over that. All right. Now, group leader, participant, group process observer, leader observer. Okay. Know the responsibilities of each role, and that is in the Google Docs under the first week under the reading materials. Make sure you read beforehand and you know what's expected of the observers as well as what's expected of the participants. Because again, the participants will be providing the material for the group session. And then the observers, it helps to kind of take a look at the form and just make sure you know what you're looking for. Now also, pardon me, stay focused, incredibly important. Now, during the Zoom session, send the group leader feedback form to the student who played the counselor. So just send it to them. You can do this either through email or Canvas Messenger if it allows you to attach the document. It should. But then and then send it to the instructor, to me, during the first week. So that'll be good to know. All right. Now, this is the group leader feedback form. And I wasn't able to fit the whole thing on here, so I've broken it up into sections. But the group leader form. So first, you're looking for, did the leader set the agenda? Did they demonstrate empathy, attending skills? Did they have an open, relaxed posture? They use their solar skills, so to speak, but in a group format. Did the leader display appropriate tone? You know, was it caring, warm? Was it passive? Was it uh, maybe aggressive? You know, some leaders, they come off as actually some of the most impactful people in my life have kind of come off as maybe brash at first, or maybe just they had a lot of flavor, you know, to their personality. Um, the leader demonstrated appropriate head nods, minimal encouragement, or oh, you know, however. The leader managed the flow and the timing, being mindful of time and kind of just keeping track of the agenda. And then also you're looking at group intervention. The leader helped members clarify and connect. So instead of just looking at the group leader itself, but what the interventions that were used. So was the leader, did they facilitate the group interactions and make sure people were participating? You know, did the leader model appropriate behaviors? Were they able to link feelings and content amongst the members? You know, like, oh, hey, you know, you're saying this, and oh, that sounds similar to what Johnny said, you know, or the leader recognized when the group was off topic and kind of redirected or brought it back to focus. I like, you know, actually casting a net or casting a line, so to speak, and kind of reeling in the person, the participant, kind of reeling in the conversation. Some of my clients, they appreciate that. They like it. It keeps, especially the ones that might be tired in some group settings, because they do a lot. You know, our clients, and maybe they got jobs or work, or they got other things, or they've had a lot of groups throughout the day, and maybe this is the last group in the day. But sometimes they're tired and they need some engagement to kind of keep them going. Leader was able to assist members in discovering the meaning behind thoughts and emotions. Leader is able to direct people, use I statements. Especially, I'll catch clients doing this. You know, they'll speak in metaphors or indirectly and say, "You all need to do," or "We all need to." You know, we think this, and it's like, you don't speak for, you know, politely, helping remind them that they don't speak for anyone but themselves, really. So I might kind of remind them, you know, I'll use an I statement, kind of model for them how to do that. Leader was able to assist members in discovering the meaning, yes, behind thoughts and emotions. Leader allows some silence that can be appropriate. Instead of just talking just to talk. Then the leader also encourages group members to provide feedback to each other. Leader successfully intervene to address challenges, and also managing the structure and timing. And then also we got the group process. So group and individual resistance, the group leader balanced focus on content, the leader drew focus on interactions, the leader helped build cohesion, demonstrate awareness, maintain professional, ethical, non-judgmental, and culturally sensitive stance. Incredibly important. And I don't know if you noticed or kind of gathered already, but being the group leader and the group facilitator, it requires a lot of multitasking, you know, really doing multiple things at the same time while also keeping track of time and the agenda. Um, and also being adaptable too, because the leader will have to adjust their leadership approach based on what's happening, you know, based on the stage of development and what the members need. Sometimes, you know, we might have a certain topic, but we may need to, based on the level of where the clients are at, we may need to do a process group instead. Just depends. It requires, you know, that judgment. Now, afterwards, part of this is that also you'll be able to give overall feedback. So 1 to 2 paragraphs each. Just write what you observe in regards to the strengths, and then look at the areas for development, and just in a free flowy way, you know, 1 to 2 paragraphs or so should be enough content for the other person. And then we have the group observation form. So you'll be writing 2 pages of your group observation for your group observation paper this week, or that, you know, each week. And that'll be the assignment. So just answering the questions there. You know, I won't spend too much time because you'll be able to go over it. Okay. Now, what is group counseling? Some of you guys already know this really well, actually, very intimately, because um, when it comes to group counseling, it's just whether it's peer-led groups like AA and NA and other groups like that, or it's you're in a treatment center, you have a history of addiction yourself, or maybe you're in a recovery. But chances are, if that's the case, you've had some involvement with group counseling sessions or just support groups in general, whether it's peer-led or led by a professional. But group counseling ultimately is a form of therapy where people can share their experiences, receive support, learn from others, and then also end up getting insights and behavioral changes. It's incredibly impactful how someone can hear someone else share their story, and from that they can kind of pick little nuggets of wisdom and apply it to their own lives without even really being told to do that. So it's kind of amazing how that happens. Now, often people will attempt to neglect or give advice to solve each other's problems. No, they'll neglect themselves, or they'll try and solve someone else's problems instead of sitting with the uncomfortable feeling. And always tell them they got to feel it to heal it. But that can be avoided with clear group agreements and rules, kind of setting them from the beginning and saying, hey, in group today, where we might notice someone's feeling some feelings, but we're not going to rescue them. We don't rescue. We let them sit with it and feel it because we know that they're going to be okay and that we believe in them. We believe that they will be able to process it and that they'll be okay because we have faith in them. So being able to frame it like that helps them learn how to support one another without reaching for the tissues and giving them a tissue paper just because they themselves are uncomfortable with seeing someone else crying. Only if someone really asks for it do they really need it. So meet your clients where they are. Understand that you don't know the answers to their set issues. Avoid problem solving during your session. I will say in some group counseling sessions, it may, especially if you take a solution focused mindset, you may have some activities that might have to do with problem solving skills, but I would still, very early in the game, really just avoid that kind of stuff. You really want to instead teach them how to learn how to sit with things and be uncomfortable, and then from that, then they can learn later how to do something with it. But first, they have to attend to what the hurt is. Avoid advice giving, even yourself. You may feel prone or encouraged, as the group leader. Hey, these people are hurting, and I'm the expert here. I'm the person, and to really show them what's what. And really, no, a group is its own unique living thing, and it really operates in such a unique way that the group heals itself, so to speak, slowly but surely. Um, Now, if you're giving psychoeducation or you're doing a psychoeducational group, that might be a little bit different. But you're really just giving information. You're not really giving advice. The clients in the group are able to determine that for themselves. Right? And if they choose to benefit from shared experience, that's their choice. All right. Now, it's not uncommon to have some anxiety, very common to be afraid of making a fool of yourself or fear of being the leader or holding others accountable. That can be tough, oh no, this group, everyone's got an addiction and they are telling me they don't want to change. And well, the whole group is all about change and stages of change, right? And being able to navigate that there's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some people who have been doing certain behaviors or certain things possibly longer than you've been on this planet. That's how it was for me. But being able to recognize that that's going to happen. That's normal. It's normal to have a little bit of anxiety. The fear of not being competent. Clients are ultimately responsible for getting better. Counselors cannot be a jack of all trades. We also can't be experts in every area necessarily. The process that is milieu is healing. So, kind of trying to find, so to speak, we can't be a jack of all trades. We also can't really be a complete expert. So just finding that balance, so to speak. I'm an addiction counselor, but that doesn't mean I know everything about addiction. Or I might find my niche is process addictions, especially gambling addiction. But that doesn't mean I lead only gambling addiction groups. Now, it's also important to seek supervision and not be afraid to say you don't know. Some group leaders are afraid of making clients worse or traumatizing, especially if it's a traumatizing or a process group related trauma, or allowing clients to monopolize, or the fear of not liking clients. Um, and also, it doesn't hurt to really ask yourself why. Where's all this come from? The value differences, transference. There may, so there's transference and then there's countertransference. The transference is that, uh, you know, a part of you, so to speak, will, the clients will gain some things from you, or you'll remind the clients of someone else in their life. But then chances are countertransference is that they're going to remind you of some people in your life and they're going to stir up some stuff that's going on in your life. So it's important to be mindful of that. And then also recognizing that there's going to be unlikable characteristics, the fear of the group not liking the counselor, or there being resistance in the sense that maybe the group doesn't want to change. It might happen, but recognize that it's out of your control. And you can even explore it with clients. You can even say, I wonder where this resistance is coming from, and kind of going from there. All right. Now, what makes a good group leader? Skilled facilitation and communication skills, authentic presence and empathy. So I would say, really being transparent, so to speak, but still professional. You're not going to tell them all your nitty gritty life story, but you are going to say, hey, I'm a human too, and in many cases, say, you're doing a group counseling session or addiction counseling session, and it wouldn't be uncommon for them to be like, hey, are you in recovery? And, they're going to know if you're lying or not. They're going to feel it in their gut. And me personally, I may not, a little self-disclosure here, since it might be appropriate, or it is appropriate, but being able to say, hey, I may not necessarily have the same experience with, your certain substance, but that doesn't mean I haven't suffered, right? Or being able to say, hey, I went down this path and now I'm here and now I'm able to work with people and help them find happiness in being sober. Whatever your story is, just being genuine, and being able to frame it in a way where it's like, hey, I'm maintaining the boundaries, but I'm also being truthful. Competent, which is why we're practicing these skills. Uh, it's also good to be kind, understanding. It's good to have an ability to manage your own anxiety. And there's times where I'm doing a group, especially if it's a heavy or a tough topic, or we're talking about shame. I'll even tell them, or a client is sharing their life story and they're almost like a testimony. And it gets pretty real quick. And I might even, as the group leader, I may even have to tell everybody, hey, I'm feeling some anxiety and some tension in my chest. I'm going to take a deep breath. And then they're all able to kind of realize, oh, hey, I needed to take a deep breath too. So it's important to be able to attend to this stuff, attend to others, but also yourself all at the same time. It's also important to tolerate ambiguity, being flexible, understanding the group dynamics, being professional as well as having ethical conduct, being culturally competent, knowing your audience, knowing what kind of barriers there may be based off of culture. Again, also setting those clear boundaries and then having that self-awareness and the maturity. I would also argue too, it's good to have that emotional intelligence of just being able to be mindful of how you're feeling, how they're feeling, and how those feelings may interact. Um, so incredibly important. All right. And last but not least, the stages of the group counseling session, or sessions, just the whole process. But much like the stages of the helping process, a roadmap is needed to structure the group counseling sessions as they go throughout. So in the first stage, you'll have forming. So it's the initial phase. It focuses on orientation, establishing group norms, and building trust among members. And group sessions can be weekly, can be every other week. So the stage one forming session stage, the forming stage can either be the first couple weeks, or it can even take a little longer depending on the duration. Members are often hesitant, eager to please, and explore the group dynamics. It's exciting. They want to find out more. Now, in stage two, storming, the group becomes more comfortable. Some disagreements or some conflicts may arise. I would argue in some cases this is kind of like testing boundaries, so to speak. They're kind of seeing what they can maybe get away with. Who knows? But this stage is usually characterized by challenges to authority, power struggles, and the exploration of individual needs and boundaries. So you could have some people who have emotional needs. They're trying to see what emotional needs can be met from this group session. So, all right. Then you have stage three, norming. So once the initial conflicts are addressed, the group begins to establish a sense of cohesion, shared goals, group mentality. We are this, we got this. We can survive anything. Members develop a stronger sense of belonging and begin to work together more effectively, especially when I'm doing men's process groups. I really like I just enjoy seeing the kind of sense of brotherhood and mentorship and just kind of seeing how the cohesion, the group just really sticks out for each other and they're able to kind of support one another by also respecting each other and not being overbearing. So it's really lovely to kind of see them develop that. And then stage four, performing. So this is the working stage where members are actively engaged in the therapy process or therapeutic process. They're sharing openly. They're working towards their individual and group goals. So they might, say individually they want to be more assertive or more, less confusion when they communicate, and then they're able to practice that and meet that group goals of being understood by the group. For example, that's just an example. And then stage five, adjourning. So as the group nears its end, members reflect on their progress, celebrate achievements, and prepare for termination. This stage helps members integrate their experiences and transition back to their individual lives. So this is when it's like, hey, this is a 10-week group or a 12-week group or whatever, 8-week group, and it's being able to say like, hey, we're near our end. This was open, and then later it became a closed group, and then now we've been doing it for oh so long. And just realizing, hey, just because this group is ending doesn't necessarily mean that it's over, so to speak. We still shared what we shared, and we still benefited from those experiences. But recognizing that just maybe even to kind of put more of a biblical aspect to it, there's a time and a season. There's a time and a season for everything. Now, this stage helps members integrate, integrate their experiences and transition back to their individual lives. So they've gone through this journey, and now it's kind of about going back and taking what they learned from the group and applying it more so in a long-term aspect. All right, let's stop sharing. All right. Oh, we got some, it's a little foggy here. Hold on now. What happened to my camera? Oh, geez. It's a little fuzzy. All right. Well, that'll conclude the PowerPoint, and thank you.